SMQBs, this is episode 117, coming to you late night. That's right, your committed podcasters.
Live.
Plus Pope didn't get the tattoo yet. The committed ones are here after the Celtics Heat game. We didn't want to record before the game, so we are coming to you late at night. But first, you know what 117 represents, guys? I think it was the number of Celtics fans left at the Garden with about 5 minutes to go in the game, because that was a straight beat down. Let's just get into it. This is where we are. House, Rooster, you guys take the NBA. We got to talk Game 6 to set the stage. But what did we just see?
A really crappy basketball team who scored 84 points in a Game 7 at home against 8 seed that had Jimmy
the
Butler.
Lowest scoring team in the NBA this year, the Heat.
It's incredible. Rooster was just texting. Nobody on here seriously knew Caleb Martin was before these playoffs. And he just, what did he go for? 26, 28?
Yeah. And they still didn't guard him on the 3-point line. Once. Every shot he took was wide open.
Tonight wasn't a one-off though. He had a pretty good series.
So they should have maybe figured him out by Game 7.
Well, so what we had was the Heat jump out to a 3-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then everybody started talking, but there's never been a team in the NBA that's come all the way back from 3-0 to win a series. Never happened. We'd listen to that. And of course, what happens? It's 3-1, 3-2.
Yeah, Game 4, Jeter and A-Rod show up, and the jinx is on.
Yeah, right. So it's 3-2, and then we have Game 6 in Miami, where it comes down to a final shot, and actually a final shot, and then a final shot, right?
Yeah, well, and Johnny Damon was at that game, so they were all thinking 2004 Red Sox. They did a Kevin Millar hype video for that game, and the Celtics were ahead that whole game. They led most of Game 6. They deserved to win it, and they almost gave it away in the end. And Derek White bailed them out after a really stupid foul by Horford on Jimmy. And the fact of the matter is, the refs, I think, got that all wrong. The foul was before the shot.
No.
Which was at 3 seconds.
That was
the shot was launched at 2.7 seconds. And if the foul was on the shot, there should have only been 2.7 seconds left, and Derek White wouldn't have had time to make that.
Oh, you think that there should have been less time on the clock?
Yeah, well, I think the refs just sort of compromised on the call. It wasn't a shooting foul, but they gave him the shots.
I think the Heat were down 8, weren't they, with like 58 seconds to go or something, maybe a minute 20. Something.
Yeah, they were down
right?
10 with less than 4 minutes to go. Yeah, then again the Celtics just caved. I think the Boston fans are going to be calling for some heads tomorrow.
Yeah, well, so let's finish up though Game 6, because we had this shot, the 3-pointer, right, to win the game. Boston gets a shot off after Butler's 3 free throws. The Heat are up 1, and Boston has a shot, and it rims out, and out of nowhere, this guy White comes in and tips it in. And even then, it didn't look. Originally, you thought, oh no, maybe it was late, but clearly it was out of his hand with 0.1 and clearly good. So Boston wins Game 6 with a crazy tip in that once the shot went up and rimmed out, you thought the game was over, and this guy kept playing to the buzzer and gets the tip in. And so fast forward to tonight, and the Celtics are coming home. House, you said it in a text, there's just too much talent on the Celtics team for the Heat to pull it out, in Boston. This was the night we were going to see the 3-0 comeback, right? We were going to see it in the Celtics. We're going to, be now battle tested going in to play Denver, right? That was the storyline.
The Heat did what the Sixers couldn't do, which was to go 3-1 in Boston Garden. They went 3-1 in this series, which is pretty remarkable. And the thing is, Rooster, I think rightfully so, has been riding this Celtics coach Mazzulla the whole playoffs. He seemed to be outmatched, but in game 6, he coached a really good game.
Right, I agree.
He coached a really good game. And on that final play, I mean, the winner goes Mazzulla there, not Spoelstra. On both sides of the miss, he had it prepped with White on the left and Tatum on the right. If that ball came off by Smart, either one of them was scoring, and Bam was in the lane in no man's land. And he was the better coach in game 6. But tonight, Spoelstra just ran circles around Mazzulla tonight. I mean, he what Spoelstra understood is that the Celtics live and die at the 3-point line. And if they're off early, they're dead. And that's what happened. They were like 1 for 13 early on with one made by Horford, and it was over. Like Rooster said, it was over at halftime because they cannot score inside the perimeter, and particularly with a hurt Tatum, you can't slash. They have no other slashers, nobody else who could score inside the perimeter. It was
like game 3. Exactly what happened in game 3. Missed all those threes to start off, and then they just never got back.
What was the stat that they said that Tatum and Brown were 2 for 23 or 2 for 26 or something over threes for the last 2 games?
Yeah, and at some point in the second period, the Celtics were 4 for 21 from 3, and yet their entire offense was keep jacking up threes. You know, you heard the guys from TNT or TBS complaining about that. It's like it's not working. Every time you get to the paint, you're getting a good shot. So stop jacking up threes because you can't hit them. If you can't make a 3, stop taking a 3. It's just terrible coaching.
What is Jaylen Brown good at?
Well, when he's
playing hard during the regular season, that's what he's good at.
I mean, I just haven't seen
when
him
teams
do
can't
anything.
scout him, and when teams don't have the energy to, play good defense, he cannot dribble in traffic. Period. Every last two playoff seasons, he has been terrible in the playoffs by turning the ball over constantly. He had 8 turnovers tonight. He dribbles into traffic and gets the ball knocked away from him. Apparently he has tiny little hands. So
when the Celtics
can't hold the ball.
When the Celtics lost the playoffs last year, the thought was that Brown and Tatum can't coexist because they both play this ISO game where they run the shot clock down and they try to beat the other team 1-on-5 through slashing and ISO. And there are times where Brown can do it. Tatum does it better than Brown, but that is still the game. And if the Celtics, maybe they can coexist. I'm not sure. They'd have to totally change the way they play. They cannot go forward and get a championship with that team in Brown or Tatum just playing an ISO game. They can't.
Look, I mean, I pay attention to playoffs. You guys probably watch more basketball than I do, but there doesn't seem to be. I mean, Tatum and Brown are not on the same level. I mean, Tatum is 2 or 3 notches above Brown as far as being a player. It doesn't seem to be a matter of coexisting. I mean, I'm just not sure what you're getting from Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I agree.
He does not look special to me.
I agree. You remember when Brunson was on Dallas, he could step up in games where Luka was in foul trouble or Luka was injured. Right. Jaylen Brown is only good when Tatum is there to draw the heat. When this game was I think this game was over after the first play when Jaylen Brown rolled his ankle. There was no way they were
Tatum.
I mean, sorry, Jason Tatum rolled his ankle on the first play. There was no way they were winning that game after that. And Jaylen Brown disappears when Tatum isn't there to be the superstar because Jaylen Brown just shrinks in the moment, in my opinion.
Well, we should give props to the winning team. The Jimmy Butler is pretty damn near close Rushmore status in terms of a playoff dog. The guy is just a dog in the playoffs. And Caleb Martin set a record tonight, beating your man, Rooster, John Starks, as the highest scoring player in conference finals of an undrafted player in the modern draft era. Starks had the record with 124, and Martin, I think, finished with something like 138 points in the conference finals. He just really was the difference
This is a guy the Charlotte Hornets released. They just let him go.
Yeah.
I mean, where's he coming from?
Well, even this game, I mean, it showed you the difference though in a team game versus like you said, house the ISO, drive, one guy driving all the time. I mean, Jimmy Butler is Jimmy Butler. He's great, but he didn't have a 40-point night. He didn't take over this game at any point. I mean, maybe down the stretch a little bit where he was just picking on Tatum at the end, but they were getting points and big shots from everywhere. And
Their no-name players scored like close to 60 points in that game.
Yeah.
What was the biggest bucket of the game was what?
I thought Jimmy's 3 when they had closed it to 7 and Jimmy pulled up and hit a 3 to bring it back to double digits. I thought that was the biggest bucket.
Well, I think it was Caleb Martin that hit one when they were, it cut it to 7 and it may have been, they may have done that twice, but
I think they did.
In the
Caleb
third,
Martin hit a big one in the third, late in the third quarter when they were making a run, and they, then they went up by 12 and what was it, 10 at the quarter.
in the third period, Derek White got the lead down to 8 points single-handedly. He made like three baskets in a row, a 2, a 3, and then a 2 and 1. And the next play down the court, Jaylen Brown pulls up 5 yards short of the 3-point line and jacks a 3 when no one's down there for a rebound, and just killed the rally. Just killed the rally. To me, that was the most important shot of the game. It just killed their only chance of a rally.
Who do you think is uglier? Derek White, Trae Young, or Sam Cassell?
Cassell.
Trae Young.
Interesting late night question.
Yeah, Trae Young and Derek White have bizarre hair, but Cassell looks like an alien.
The original was Dennis Brown for the Celtics.
Oh,
DJ.
That guy.
Yeah.
Dennis
Well,
Johnson.
so this is Spo's 6th finals in 15 years.
wow.
Pretty impressive.
We are not worthy.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And I imagine that everybody in Vegas right now is saying that it'll be 4-0 Denver in the finals, right? Isn't that going to be the trendy pick? But I don't know how you pick against the Heat. At least how you don't see it as a dogfight.
Well, I mean,
Right.
you have to credit Spo at the end of game 6. A lot of coaches could have been like, a little down, deflated, bitter, whatever. But Spo's like, we are just happy to have the opportunity to go and compete in a game 7. We're thrilled. I mean, his mental, attitude certainly helped that team recover quickly from that loss.
They seem pretty even keel as a team, right? I mean, this is and we talked about it a little bit last week, I think, but the jokes about Heat culture, they're not jokes anymore, right? I mean, there is something about that franchise and the way they do business day in and day out that they are never out of a playoff series.
The thing I like about Jimmy Butler is he doesn't talk like a lot of the superstars who are head and shoulders above all their teammates talk. Like, my team, my that, he talks about the team as if they're all equals, even though he knows he's head and shoulders better. He's just a good leader. Let's contrast that to the way LeBron talks about his teammates when the going gets tough.
There was a time that all of us in text banter and stuff, when the Sixers first got Jimmy Butler, do you really want that guy? Do you really want that cancer in the locker room? That was the rap that he had for a while. I mean, he's obviously shed that. He has really grown as a player and as a leader, but he got a bad rap for a long time.
But in retrospect, he was speaking the truth.
Yeah,
to
that's what I was going to say.
Sixers leadership by saying this Ben Simmons guy's a fraud.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question: is did he get a bad rap, and was it wrong? Right? I mean, did he want out of places like Minnesota and like Philly because the guys there didn't want to play hard, didn't want to work hard day in and day out? I think that's a little bit. Certainly that's what he thought of Ben Simmons. This is not a guy who's going to work hard. I don't want to be around him. So, I mean, you're right. It's hard to know if he grew or if now, he's just getting the recognition, and before everybody sort of cast him as a cancer.
Well, there was a perception that he would be a great complement player to a star like Joel Embiid, but never be able to carry his own team. And the thing was that, Jimmy just wants to go and have like his own team. Well, it's unquestionable what the answer is now.
Yeah.
He's fully capable of having his own team because he's done it. He's taken his team to the finals. Let's not forget to give a shout out to the city of Boston, who's the only city in history to lose to 2 8 seeds in both the NBA and NHL playoffs in the same year. Congrats to the Bruins and the Celtics.
In game 7s, right?
Yeah, in game 7s at home.
Painful.
You have pictures behind you of their 2 stars who were injured in the playoffs.
Next,
Well,
man up is what you guys
let's not do the injury thing with the Celtics. I mean, Tatum did roll his ankle tonight. He was healthy for 6 games, and lost 3 of those at home. I guess one of them being tonight, so he lost 2 of his healthy games at home. Yes, he rolled his ankle, but he was out on the floor, and like they pointed out at the end of the broadcast, the Heat had like the 4th most lost games this year, lost man hours or man games, whatever it is, all season, and then we're without a 20-point scorer in Tyler Hero the entire playoffs. So, I think they even said this, one of the guys on the broadcast said it, and it's accurate. Before the Celtics fans start whining about the injury, next man up means something.
So before we have our next pod, we're going to be 2 games into the NBA Finals. And I'm
Starts on the
interested.
1st.
I think Thursday and Saturday are the first 2 games, right, in Denver. And I guess for me, what I'm going to be looking for is which team can really, really set the pace. I think the Heat are going to need to slow that game down and limit possessions. And I think Denver's just going to want to keep running and play bully ball with Jokic. But I know what you just said before about don't count the Heat out, but sorry, I'm counting the Heat out against this Denver team. They are on a mission, and I can't see them beating this Nuggets team. I just can't.
I agree, because Denver's everything the Celtics are not. They're well coached and they have a movement offense. The Celtics stood around the 3-point line that whole game. It was really an awful game to watch.
So what do you got, Toby? You got how many games?
I'll go Nuggets and 6, being generous to the Heat.
Rooster?
That's what I was thinking too. Nuggets and 6.
I got Nuggets and 7.
Well, that would be fucking boring if I just went with the Nuggets, wouldn't it? I'm going to take the Heat.
Yeah.
I'll take the Heat in
Since
6.
you're a full-on Heat fan now, you better
I'll take the Heat in 6, but I'll tell you one
take the
thing.
Heat.
Don't underestimate the fact that the Nuggets haven't played. It'll be 9 days before game 1. And it reminds me of a game that the Philadelphia 76ers went into LA to play the Lakers after the Lakers had breezed through the playoffs. I don't think they had lost a single game. The Sixers had gone to, elimination games, I think, every round. And Iverson went in there and led his team to beat the Lakers in game 1. And, the Sixers were battle tested. They had to fight. The Lakers had coasted, had time off, and they lost game 1. Now, let's not talk about the fact that what happened the next 4 games in that series, but the fact is that time off can affect a team, can slow them down, get them out of rhythm, and the Heat are coming in playing really well.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think for the Heat to compete, they're going to need the addition of Tyler Hero, and he's had 4 weeks off.
Yeah, well, he's going to be rusty, but he's
back.
back.
He's really rusty, but he's back, and that could make the series a little bit more interesting. He's a legit, semi-star behind Jimmy.
Who replaced him in the lineup?
I mean, it was a combination of Robinson and Strus.
I mean, because both of those guys played great.
Yeah. Well, Hero will come off the bench. He's not going to get many minutes, at least the first game. He's got to get his win back too. You should have fresh legs in a regard, but you're not in game shape, no matter what you've been doing. So we'll see. I think it'll be a fun series. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it could go 6 or 7, but Heat in 7.
I think
Anything
the
else
Heat. I think the Heat needs to steal game 1. I think that's key to making it a long series. Because
All right. Anything else on the NBA?
One little fun stat: Kevin Love, every time he's been to the playoffs, has been where?
In the finals?
Yep.
Is that true?
Yep.
Every
Wow.
time he's been in the playoffs, he's gone to the finals.
Yep.
That's wild.
That is wild, isn't it?
That's like
The X factor.
Robert Horry.
So he was never in the playoffs on the Timberwolves.
That's possible.
I think they're
Apparently
like
not.
years without going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Robert Horry? Doesn't he have like 8 rings or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, big shot Bob. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's. I don't think there's too much to talk here, Pope. We had an NHL elimination game tonight. How did it turn out for your guys?
We got eliminated in the first about 5 minutes. 3 goals, just bam, bam, bam. It was a fun, for the first 3 minutes or so. Crowd was into it. It's first hockey game I've seen in years, and Stanley Cup playoffs are just a blast to go to. And I'm telling you, Jim Mitchell called it. He said it was like watching Vegas. They were like a varsity team, and Stars were like a JV team tonight. I mean, Vegas was their passing was crisp. They were just throwing the puck, on the net. They outshot them at one point. It was like 2-1, it's like 20-10, 20-11. Stars had no quality, like very few quality chances. Can't blame it on anybody other than, I think the Stars, what happened was Jamie Benn was out for 2 games, and they played with that mentality to get back to Dallas, and that's what they were shooting for. And they just, for whatever reason, they didn't come out strong, and they just got smoked. Now, I would think that Vegas would be favored, just based on regular season and based on what they've done in the Stanley Cup so far. But how do you overlook Florida? What a story!
I saw the
Yeah.
first 9 minutes or so of that game that you were at, Pope.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen that many shots on goal in the first 3 minutes of a game ever. It was an onslaught.
it was brutal, and we were right in front of it.
Oh,
They could not get the puck out of their zone. It was brutal.
the NHL cannot be happy about the 2 teams, Vegas and Florida being the 2 finalists.
Who?
It's not gonna. Yeah, right. It's
Right.
It's not going to be great for viewership.
If a tree falls in the woods, no one's there to hear it. Doesn't
Yeah.
make a noise. Will the Stanley Cup be awarded this year?
Well, the game 1 is Saturday, so game 2 is not till Monday at 8. So maybe on Monday we'll bring in our Canadian expert, see if we can get a rundown on the Stanley Cup playoffs
Just-
with only one game in underhand.
By the way, just to contrast it with Boston, South Florida has a lot going on right now to pay attention to. Hockey, and they're going for the cup and the basketball at the same time. So it's going to be a lot of sports in Miami. Good luck trying to get a table at Prime 112 for the next 10 days.
Yeah.
So,
Are you
All
gonna
right.
are you gonna go see a Stanley Cup game?
no,
Yeah.
not likely.
The transformation is not quite complete.
Not likely.
Yeah. Maybe the Caps will be the hardest to give up.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I haven't given up anybody.
Oh, come on. You've given up the Wizards practically.
No, the Wizards have a new GM. It's a very exciting time to be a Wizards fan.
I could tell.
We've got a new GM who's got a ton of success behind him where he's left. It's exciting. But I have a lot of friends who are Heat fans. I'm rooting for them. So, all right. Anything else on Stanley Cup? And the Stanley Cup will be awarded sometime in July, probably. So, okay. So a little different topic then. Thanks to the Green and Schultz law firm out of Bloomington, Indiana, I had the privilege and pleasure of going to the Indy 500. And I will say this was always sort of a bucket list event for me. And it certainly lived up to the hype. I mean, I don't think you can appreciate like the size of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You can fit 9 football stadiums in the grounds, like in the infield, if you put 3 aside, 3 rows. That's how large the track is and the facility is. And there are just grandstands everywhere. I mean, there was 350,000 people who attended the race yesterday. And it's really, you know, so it's interesting. I don't remember if somebody sent me the article, if I sent it around to you all, but you know, the Indianapolis 500 is blacked out in Indianapolis. You can't watch it on TV. They replay it like at 7 p.m. But this is an unbelievable community event. Starting in May, the city just starts putting up signs everywhere, welcome racing fans. And, you know, we went to what's called Carb Day Friday before the race. It's not for pasta, which was very disappointing to me that I learned it was for carburetors. I thought there was going to be bread and pasta
like
everywhere.
pizza.
There was not. Yeah, that's not what it stands for. A little disappointing there, but I got over it. But you know, you go down to that, and it's sort of like a practice round, and there's a pit crew competition. They actually have their qualifying the weekend before the 500, and so. But then after that, we went to like house parties where people, you know, on a block are having like 2-3 houses in a row are having house parties that they're sharing. And I mean, just everybody is into it. I mean, everybody is there. And what was kind of cool was I kept asking everyone, you know, okay, well, who do you think is going to win? You guys, you've gone to, this is your 30th race in a row. This is your 20th race in a row. You've been doing this for 50 years. Who's going to win? I don't know. I'm just here for the party and for the race. They're like, I'll go. I don't know. But
AJ Foyt, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, so you know, the experience is one thing, and people are super nice. I mean, the 2 days we were at the track, you know, you got people. There's a lot of drinking, a lot of boozing. Not a single fight, not a single like aggressive like push in the crowds. I mean, it's really crowded. The people are just really nice, and they're there for a good time, and they're there to sort of celebrate this whole experience. The racing, so you know, we've all gotten into F1, and I would say that, you know, F1 is a much more elegant product than the Indy car, particularly on an oval. The racing is just flat out go as fast as you fucking can, and don't worry about anything else. I mean, there's no pinpoint turns. You contrast that with Monaco, which I watched today, and you know, there's turns and there's tight little, you know, chicanes and twists and turns that you have to go through.
And debris.
And debris. I mean, the track is so large you can have 4 cars side by side at a time at Indy, and so the racing is just much faster. The pit stops are, like I said, they're less elegant. I mean,
how many cars start the race?
33 cars, 11 rows,
Wow.
three wide each row. And the race, the actual race, the 107th running of the Indy 500 was probably one of the most exciting races they've ever had. It was, I think they went 94 laps or 100 laps or something without any caution at all. Then they had the first wreck, and then you got down to the last 16 laps, and it was like a bunch of drunk 15-year-olds taking their cars out, their parents' cars out for the weekend, because everybody was wrecking at that point. And the drama of the whole thing was there was a wreck with like 8 laps to go, and on the restart, this guy Ericsson, who was the defending champion, he squeezed by, Marcus Ericsson squeezed by the 2 leaders at the time, and he got in front, and it looked like he was in good shape. And lo and behold, there's another wreck, and I think another wreck. I mean, there were so many wrecks in the last 16, But the big drama was with 3 laps to go, they red flagged the race, which I'm told and I've confirmed is very rare. They have finished the Indy 500 under yellow many, many times. And so the idea of having a one lap, basically one lap to start, and then a rolling green flag to finish the race, that's how it was going to end. That is very unusual for IndyCar. Now, some of the conspiracy theorists will say that the guy in second place was a Roger Penske owned driver, and the track is owned by Roger Penske. So there was some conspiracy talk there, but there doesn't seem to be any connection between Penske and the stewards who are making those calls.
So from the stands, can you see just about the whole track?
There's parts of it you can, but not where we were. But there's so many TVs, and they have a live broadcaster up there. The TV coverage was pretty good from where we were sitting. We could see huge screens, so we knew what was happening. And we knew, where we were sitting, we saw the back straight away. And so Joseph Newgarden, who is really, he's in his 12th year, he's a 2-time Indy Cup champion. He had never won the 500. A lot of people said this was the only hole in his resume. He's been really one of the great drivers, and he pulled away and just made a great move on Marcus Ericsson, got past him on the third corner there. And after that, it was just an all-out sprint to the finish. And Newgarden won it. He finished it. He stopped his car. He got out. And not only did he climb the fence, like a Helio Castroneves has done in the past, he actually went through the fence and ran into the stands and celebrated with the fans in the first row, and just got mobbed by everyone before he came back down and went back onto the track. It really was high drama. It's very exciting racing to watch. There's tons of passing. And I will say, I like F1. I'm not switching over, but F1 has to figure out a way to have these cars going wheel to wheel and passing more, because there's I don't know how many different cars. I think there were 14 different leaders of the Indy 500 at one point during the race. And it was, it's just when you can have that kind of passing, it's exciting. I don't know that you would get that even if you had, even if you had a little bit of a wider track. Certainly not in Monaco, you don't get it, but very exciting experience. I think everybody should want to check out the Indy 500. You should.
How many teams are there? How many teams are there?
Why so many questions, Bob? I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know how many teams there are.
Well, I'm just wondering.
Good question.
Do they have a comparable to Williams and Haas and?
They have teams. Yeah,
right.
They do.
No.
McLaren has a team. Zach Brown was there.
Teams that suck, that have no chance of winning. Do they have those teams?
I don't think so.
Everybody have a chance.
Well, somebody must have no chance of winning, because Roman Grosjean is driving for them.
That's funny. That's really
So
funny.
by the way, it was also Tony Kanaan's last race. He's retired, and he had a very respectable showing. At one point, I saw he was in the top 10.
He did. They did a lot of nice tributes to him at the beginning of the race. And the joke there is that nobody believes he's actually retiring. I think
really?
He's done this 2 or 3 times in the past. Yeah.
Here's the real question: which is the better partying, F1 partying or Indy 500 partying?
Well, let's just say one of them is a martini and steak crowd, and one of them is a Miller Lite and Jello shot crowd.
Okay. So the Indy 500 is a more fun party. Got it.
It was, listen, we had an absolute blast at it. And I'm being a little tongue in cheek with that. They're both fun. They're different kinds of parties. Look, the Miami Grand Prix is a see and be seen, sort of spectacle. I think a lot of F1 is like that. I'd really want to compare Indy to the Austin F1 race. That's what I think would be a good comparison to see how the partying is and the crowd is there. but I can't say enough good things about the experience and the people. And it was just, just a great thing. And I would encourage everyone to put that on their bucket list and do it once. And
That's
I'd like to
awesome.
do it again. So, and good for Joseph Newgard. And it was really an exciting race too.
I think the cars look a lot different.
Well,
You were down there.
Yeah, I mean they're smaller. They're not. They're similar in that they're open wheel, right? They're all cart based sort of
Right.
race, and you're open wheel. But they're much shorter, and they fuel them up with gasoline or with whatever fuel they use during the race. So it's they're stopping a bunch. I think they pit 4 or 5 times, and they're putting new tires on every time, and they're putting fuel into the vehicle every time. So I guess the whole setup is very different on the car than an F1 car. But they're not meant to do the things that an F1 car does, right? I mean, these cars, the average speed was probably 223, 224 miles an hour average. I mean, we don't really see an F1 car get up above 202, 203 miles per hour, even on a DRS straightaway. But they're also making pinpoint turns at 80 miles an hour. So, the setups on these vehicles are very different. They're both unbelievable, feats of engineering. They're just there to do different things.
Is the strategy the same as far as, the tires and when to pit, or is it completely different with F1?
I think it's different in the sense that you're burning through these tires so quickly that
And
you're
fuel.
going to have to pit. Yeah, you're going to have to pit 3 or 4 times. There is a limit on tires that you can use, but it's like, I think it's like you have 34 sets of tires for qualifying and for the weekend. So it's not quite like F1. There are some limitations on it, but I don't think they have different treads on them either. So the only other thing I'll say about it is it was a little scary. There were some really scary crashes. And the scariest part of one of them that we have to talk about, at least mention, is a tire that went off of a car and just missed going into the grandstands. It did clear the safety fencing, and it went through an opening in the grandstand, basically a gap between grandstands, and it actually caused serious damage to a vehicle in the parking lot. But they've had deaths at races before from debris and from tires going in, and this was a tire that went. I mean, it is very lucky that it didn't go into the grandstand, and certainly the track is going to have to figure out what to do about that, because I mean, it wasn't even close. It cleared this thing easily, and the speed. I mean, the damn tire must have flown 300 yards. I mean, from where it came loose, if not more. So that's the kind of force that you're talking about. There's no way if that hits you, you don't have a chance. I mean, there's just no matter how big or strong you are, that kind of power coming at you is deadly. So they'll definitely have to address that. That was the one little blemish on the day. So that was it. Check it out. It's a fun experience. Everyone should go try and get to an Indy 500.
Added to the bucket list.
Yep. All right. With that, who's got a punchable face?
House
Well,
does.
Yeah, I have a short one to say that tonight on the floor you saw refereeing Scott Foster and Tony Brothers, but who you did not see was Eric Lewis, and it may not be because he wasn't the best graded official. It may be because the NBA is now investigating Eric Lewis because he's been secretly using a Twitter burner account to defend himself. This guy, Eric Lewis, is known to be kind of a lifelong Celtics fan, and his family in their own social media is always dressed up in Celtics gear, rooting them on. And it's not to say that a ref can't have family that roots for a team. Okay, you can still officiate a game. Okay, but your whole job as a ref is to be unbiased and never even have the appearance of being biased. And this doofus went out and apparently got a Twitter burner account called Cutliff Blair. And anytime somebody went on Twitter and criticized the real Eric Lewis as a ref, Blair Cutliff would come on and defend Eric Lewis.
Oh, wow.
And so somebody just kept finding that this is weird. There's some dude that keeps defending it. And I think it's actually a burner account, and someone pretty much outed him. And now the NBA is investigating him. And if it turns out to be true, I don't think you're going to see Eric Lewis officiating many more games in the NBA.
No.
And so I had the arm raised to punch. I guess I can't release it yet because if people are presumed innocent until found guilty. But I have a feeling there's going to be a postscript on this where the punch is going to be unleashed on Eric Lewis. I hope not. And that's my almost punch of the week.
Almost punch. That's a little bit below milk slap, I think. So
Yeah.
Right.
we'll leave it out there, though. All right. Yeah, that's definitely as one of our fearless leaders likes to say, watch this space.
Yes.
So, okay, who's got a lasso?
I have a short one. So when I was younger, the relief pitchers used to get the Rolaids, reliever of the year award. At least in the American League now, it's known as the Mariano Rivera American League Reliever of the Year award, which doesn't have quite the same catch to it. But the guy who won that in 2020 and 2021, and then in 2022 had 41 save opportunities and converted on 37 of them, was Liam Hendricks, arguably the best relief pitcher in baseball in the early 2020s. And then less than 5 months ago, announced that he had cancer and had to step back from baseball and get cancer treatment. Well, the team announced he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The team announced the other day by video that he was back on their active roster. He's been pitching in their minor league system, and he's going to be back and probably in June pitching for the White Sox. So it's an amazing comeback story. He looks a little out of shape. He's a little rusty. I think his ERA is up over 10 in the minor leagues, but he'll get back, and he's cancer free. So it's a great story. Good for Liam.
Amazing.
Really great story. Yeah, really great story. Any other lassos? Buzzer beaters. House, I know you got one.
I have two short buzzer beaters. On top of the improbable run of the Miami Heat, who are an 8 seed to make the NBA Finals, we have two improbable stories in sports. The Luton Town Hatters, who in the 2000s had dropped out of professional football altogether in England. There are 5 divisions of professional football in England, and you can keep climbing up those divisions. And in the span of about 9 years, they climbed up one by one, division by division by division. And in a playoff that is the final spot to move up into the top division in English football, Premier League, Luton Town won. The scenes from this proud town that everything surrounds football were incredible. The stadium, it would be like one of, I don't know, a Texas high school football stadium compared to like the Superdome or something. The stadium there holds 10,000 people, and most of the British soccer stadiums hold at least 5 times that. So it is a crazy story that teams like Man City and Man U are coming through, literally walking through someone's home, basically the entrance to a home, and you go through like a little crevice to get to the supporters stands. But it's a pretty cool story. That was a good buzzer beater, and I gotta shout out.
I gotta tell you, I think that's a lasso almost.
Yeah,
That's a really good story.
Especially the video of the townsfolk celebrating.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was
again,
amazing.
isn't that like the essence of Ted Lasso?
Yeah. I think that's a lasso.
Well, then you've not only been promoted to Premier League Luton Town, but you've been promoted from buzzer beater to Lasso. So congratulations on that.
Woohoo. That's probably more
On
important.
On-spot promotion.
And this is bordering on Lasso, but it's too much of a homer story. But Tulane baseball team was 16-40, and they went into their conference final. It's the only way that they can make the equivalent of the NCAA basketball tournament. Like, you got to win your conference, otherwise you're done for the season. And they ran through everybody, including a top 12 team in the country, East Carolina, to win. And really improbable. Their team starting ERA was 7.90. And that team just ran the table, won the AAC, and is now in the NCAA tournament for baseball at 19-40, and will play LSU this Friday. I'm sure there'll be smoke, but it was a good story nonetheless. So I got to give them a buzzer beater to wrap it up.
It could be UConn's year in baseball too, by the
Could
way.
be.
Any other buzzer beaters?
I got a quick question for the group. Who made more money with their victory this weekend? The winner of Indy 500 or the winner of the Live DC golf tournament?
Oh, the
had to be
Live
Liv.
DC golf tournament.
$4 million to Harold Varner and 3.6 to the winner of the biggest, racing event in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let that soak in.
Well, Varner made no bones about the reason he moved over. He said it's the only way he's going to make that kind of money.
Yep. That is crazy stat, though.
Well, I'll give a quick shout out to Georgetown baseball, who for the first time in program history made the Big East tournament 2 years in a row, and they set all sorts of records for the team, for the school this year. That they didn't last very long in the Big East tournament, unfortunately, but the program has just completely turned around, and it's actually it's on its way. It's only going to get better. Kids are getting drafted out of the school now, and they're getting some big time recruits. So shout out to them. They came up short in the Big East tournament, but second year in a row, first time they've ever pulled that off.
I think, speaking of UConn, I think they're the class of the Big East, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else this week?
I hope
All right.
everybody had a great Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Memorial Day.
Happy
everyone.
Memorial Day, everyone. All right, guys. Have a good.
Hope the Boston folks have some memories of the season.
Have a good short week. See y'all.